From the Blues Hotel Collective, welcome to Blues Moments in Time, where every groove holds a memory and every moment echoes the truth of what came before. Today, we rewind the reel, trace the footsteps, and revisit the chapters that shaped the blues. Here is our host, Kelvin Huggins.
Welcome to Blues Moments in Time, where we dig deep into the stories that shaped the blues. I'm your host, Kelvin Huggins, and today we're turning the calendar to January 3rd, a date that gave us one of the early pioneers of rock and roll, back when the music didn't even have a name yet. Picture this, January 3rd, 1926, Philadelphia. A baby boy named Danny Overbea takes his first breath. But to understand what that moment meant, we got to step back and look at the world he was born into. 1926 sat right in the middle of something historians call the Great Migration. 6 million black Americans, that's 6 million, were leaving the South, heading north to cities like Chicago, Detroit, New York, and yes, Philadelphia. They were running from Jim Crow, from the rope and the fire, from cotton fields that never paid enough to survive. They were chasing something simple: dignity, opportunity, and the chance to live without fear. Philadelphia's black population had more than doubled since 1900. By 1926, over 134,000 African Americans called that city home. They bought their churches, their food, their stories, and they bought their music. The Delta Blues was moving north, and when it hit those northern cities, something new started brewing. Now, let's talk about what was happening politically, because the blues never existed in a vacuum. In 1926, Carter G. Woodson, the father of Black history, launched Negro History Week. That's right, the forerunner to Black History Month started the same year Danny Overbea was born. Woodson believed that black achievement needed to be properly recognised, that African Americans had been makers of civilization from the very beginning. But let's not romanticise 1926. Down south, Jim Crow was still king. Lynchings were regular occurrences, 2 to 3 people murdered every week. The violence wasn't just physical, it was systematic, designed to keep people terrorised in their place. That's why families kept leaving, kept packing up everything they owned and boarding trains north. And when they got north, well, it wasn't paradise. Jim Crow laws, sure, but discrimination in housing and jobs was real. Black communities had to build their own institutions, create their own spaces, but at least they could breathe a little easier. As one bluesman later said about leaving Mississippi for Chicago, it wasn't peaches and cream, man, but it was a hell of a lot better than down there where I was born. So what was the blues sounding like in 1926? The recording industry had discovered there was money to be made in what they called race records, music by black artists for black audiences. Mamie Smith had proven that back in 1920 with Crazy Blues, the first blues record by a black artist. By 1926, record companies were actively searching for talent. That June, Freddie Spirell recorded Milk Cow Blues in Chicago, one of the first Delta Blues artists to be captured on wax. The transformation was beginning. Those rural blues from Mississippi, Texas and Louisiana were about to meet the sounds of the city, the clang of industry, the buzz of electricity and the rhythm of urban life. The great Muddy Waters, still a young man working in the fields. Down in Mississippi, Chess Records, the Chess Brothers were still kids in Poland. They wouldn't even arrive in Chicago for another 2 years, but the stage was being set for the revolution that would come. And right in the middle of all this history being made, In Philadelphia on January 3rd, 1926, Danny Overbea came into the world. Danny's family moved from Chicago where he was young, settling on the South Side. He picked up guitar at DeSable High School, same school that would produce so many great musicians. He later joked that he was the third string guitarist, which meant they never let him play because he was terrible and couldn't read music properly. But Danny had something else. He had showmanship. After serving in World War II, he lied about his age to enlist at just 15. He started his professional career in 1946, and when Danny Overbea hit the stage, people remembered it. He'd play guitar behind his back, play it with his teeth, drop into splits while never missing a note. He learned those moves from the great T-Bone Walker, who was revolutionising blues guitar at the time, but Danny made them his own. In 1953, listen to this, Danny recorded 2 songs for Chess Records' Checker label that music historians now say were essentially rock and roll before anyone had even coined the term. Train, Train, Train hit number 7 on the R&B charts. Then came 40 Cups of Coffee, a song so infectious that Ella Mae Morse covered it for the pop market, and Bill Haley and his Comets recorded it in 1956. Think about that timing. Danny Overbea was making rock and roll in 1953, 2 years before most people marked rock and roll's birth. He was there at the very beginning, helping create the sound that would change the world. The legendary DJ Alan Freed, the man who helped popularise the term rock and roll, loved Danny Overbea. Put him on his show in Ohio and New York. Those early rock and roll reviews where teenagers were hearing this new music for the first time. And Danny's acrobatic guitar playing, that was always a highlight. But Danny Overbea was more than just a showman. He could sing ballads in the style of Billy Eckstine, smooth and sophisticated. He wore his own songs. He even recorded Sorrento in Italian. The man had range. The music industry is funny. Sometimes the pioneers don't get their full due while they're alive. Danny kept performing through the 50s, recording for various labels, but as the 60s rolled in and music changed again, his commercial success faded. He kept playing Chicago clubs into the 1970s, but he never became a household name. Danny Overbea passed away in Chicago on May 11th, 1994 at the age of 68, same city where he learned his craft, where he'd helped birth rock and roll before it had a name. You know, there's something poetic about January 3rd, 1926. That date sits right at the crossroads of so much history. The Great Migration bringing new sounds north, race records opening new possibilities, and a baby being born who'd grow up to help create a whole new kind of music. Danny Overbea's story reminds us that the blues and rock and roll after it didn't just appear out of nowhere. They were made by real people, living through real history, finding ways to express joy and pain and hope through music. So the next time you hear Chuck Berry or the Rolling Stones or any of those rock and roll pioneers, remember, they were people like Danny Overbea who got there first, who laid down the tracks that others would follow. That's all for today's episode of Blues Moments in Time, January 3rd, 1926, the day Danny Overbea was born, and one more thread in the tapestry of the blues. Thanks for joining me on another journey with Blues Moments in Time. Until next time, keep the blues alive.